I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It is your daily sports podcast. It is going to wow you with facts and information. And none of that is true, but we will try to entertain you here for the next 60 to 90 minutes. We could not do the Daily Puck Drop without the support of Limback Lumber. Big thanks to Limback Lumber. Contractors, do-it-yourselfers, they're going to take care of you. Reach out to them, 206-782-3487. Visit them at limbacklumber.com for the very latest. They've been doing business since 1930, so that is going to tell you that they know what they are doing. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports everywhere except for TikTok. It's Puck_sports. You can also visit me at pucksports.com. There you can sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. You support all the free daily things that we do here on the Daily Puck Drop and Puck Sports, but also you get bonus shows as well, including Inside Pitch coming up tomorrow with Ryan Divich, live from the winter meetings in Orlando, and KJ Arntz coming up on Thursday with Mitch Levy. You can also check out episodes that came out last week, a newest edition of the Sports Pit with myself, Matt Stretch Johnson, and Steve Sandmeyer, and a sit-down with Fox Sports college commentator Tim Brando. All right. Well, let's get to a couple of headlines before we talk to John Canzano there from johncanzano.com. Get the very latest on just a very busy last few days of college football. A lot to cover with John. We got the college football playoff rankings. We'll get to that. Everything that's happening at Washington State. Jimmy Rogers now at Iowa State. What is next for the Cougs? He's got information on Rick Neuheisel and Chip Kelly. Does that do it for you? It does it for the go-to guy. He's all in on Rick Neuheisel. So we'll get to that. Danny Kelly from The Ringer will talk NFL coming up soon. We'll give you some winter meetings buzz surrounding your Mariners. Quickly, let's get to a story, though, before we bring on John, and then we'll segue right into John. There is a lot of smoke now starting to heat up by some in the former players at Wazoo and alumni base, and it kind of was started last night from Ryan Leaf, of course, former Rose Bowl quarterback, a legend there at Washington State turned college football commentator, talking about how a former player has reached out to him and wants the job. Well, all indications are that that player, that former player, is the co-defensive coordinator, current linebackers coach at Texas, Johnny Nansen. And if you look at Johnny Nansen, he checks a lot of boxes if you are a Coug fan. Now, he has not ever coached. He's been a coordinator. He's got a wealth of experience across the West Coast. He spent time at USC. He spent time at UCLA, Arizona, Washington. He's got a connection with Sark that dates back to UW. He has bounced around a lot of different places up and down the West Coast. Went to Washington State 1992 through 1996. He missed the Rose Bowl year, was a 3-year starter there, was a captain his senior season. He was born in American Samoa. There's always been a connection with Washington State and in that region. He, again, has got a wealth of coaching experience across the country. Just has never been a head coach. 51's been a coordinator a bunch of different places. So if being a sitting head coach is important to Washington State, and when they look for a next head coach, he would not check that box. Now, also on that staff at Texas is I'm going to screw up his name if it's Jeff Banks, but it's Banks is the special teams coordinator. He also played at Washington State. He came in the last year for Johnny Nansen. So he's been a long time special teams coach there at Texas. He's been with Sark for a while. And also is the wide receivers coach and the passing game coordinator, Chris Jackson, of course, Fab Five. Again, not to say that those guys would come with him, but they're for people who want a connection to the past, Johnny Nansen would be that. So we'll see where that goes, but there appears to be a lot of interest from his camp. Let's get to John Canzano, who's going to give us the very latest on everything that he is hearing on this front. He joins us every single Tuesday, talking all things college football, and his weekly appearance is brought to you by the one and only Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. And here he is, John Canzano, the Bald-Faced Truth radio show down there in Portland, Oregon, but all the work at johncanzano.com. He's brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. They got 6 great locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They got you covered for everything: date night, guys night, ladies night, large group events. All right, let's start first with Washington State. We'll get to the college football rankings,
sure,
and all of that, and we'll get this latest story that's come out from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo and Utah and private equity. We'll cover that as well. Jimmy Rogers leaving. How surprising is that? We all probably expected him to leave, but now he leaves after 1 year, John, and what's kind of the fallout and aftermath for WSU after he departs for Iowa State?
Look, this era of college football is about the universities saying they're all doing what's best for themselves. These conferences saying what they're doing what's best for themselves. Players saying they're doing what's best for themselves. And of course, we should not exclude coaches from that. I think the timing of it is what sucks for Washington State. I mean, this was within 48 hours of Jimmy Rogers telling 22 recruits, "Hey, come to Pullman. I want to coach you." And I think that stinks for the recruits. It stinks for fans. This isn't great timing. If you unpack it and you look at the dominoes that fell, Puck, it really starts with Penn State, who fired James Franklin early so they could seemingly get a head start on this coaching thing. And then they botched it. They just, all along the way, even when you look at them arriving at Matt Campbell, if he's the right choice for them, you know, they tried to make an overture to him early on. They realized they had the wrong number for him. Like, you know, come on, what are we in middle school here? And so all of this has an impact where ultimately on the trickle-down effect and down the food chain at Washington State. And it's going to affect potentially somebody else if Washington State turns to a Big Sky Conference coach. And, you know, there's just it's everybody doing what's best for themselves, and the timing of it is bad. I thought Jimmy said some things that helped himself in the last 24 hours, talking about, like, you know, he didn't come there to leave, but everybody kind of knew he wasn't a forever guy. Look, Washington State now has to pivot. They've got an interim athletic director in John Harlow. I talked to him over the weekend. He's drinking through a fire hydrant right now. I think he's doing the best job that he can possibly do to try to manage everybody who's calling him, trying to get in on this job, because all these donors, all these former players, media members, everybody's got an idea of what Washington State should do. But the question is, whose hire is this? Is this Elizabeth Cantwell's hire, the president? Is this John Harlow's hire? Are they going to hand it to some key donors and go, what do you want to do? That is a question that is to be determined.
All right. Let me, before we pivot to what is next, and you have stirred up everybody over the weekend with the Rick Neuheisel and Chip Kelly connection that we're going to get to in just a second. Let me just wrap up Rogers for a minute.
Yeah.
Did it surprise you? I mean, I don't know if it surprised me. I thought it was odd how long these two, Rogers and the AD at Iowa State, had been in connection together, in contact. Did that clearly strike you as odd? As every time before a game, apparently Pollard is sending him a text, good luck? I mean, or is that common, do you think?
I think it's probably more common than most of us realize, that there's a lot of networking going on. A lot of the coordinators and assistant coaches are trying to network with athletic directors, thinking about where are they going to be and who are they going to hire. This is a relationship business when it comes to recruiting. It's a relationship business when it comes to hiring. And these athletic directors, they tie themselves to a head coach in a way that I think never before has it been more important to hitch your wagon, so to speak, to somebody who's going to produce for you. Rick George at Colorado hires Coach Prime, right? Deion Sanders. And then now he realizes, that's losing steam. This is a good time for me to exit. I mean, you just watch the athletic directors. They're connecting themselves to these coaches. It does feel a little smarmy to me that you're keeping him close. You know, it's like, he's texting somebody else's girlfriend, right? And saying, hey, have a great day at work today. just in case I'm going to need a coach someday. I want to keep you close, Jimmy Rogers. And that's what the AD at Iowa State did. Yeah, Iowa State fans are probably thinking this is wonderful, this is great. But every AD in America has got a short list in their file cabinet, so to speak, or in their top desk drawer of the coaches that they want to hire. Greg Byrne at Alabama had Kalen DeBoer on his radar and knew when Nick Saban went, that was his call. Like, he looked at no one else. He told me that. And so when you look at Iowa State pivoting to Jimmy Rogers, the thing about it that is messy is the timing. I mean, it's just, and I go back to Penn State. Penn State screwed this up, and Washington State fans should be mad at Penn State, because if they had just made that move earlier, now you're in the market for Jim Mora. You're in the market for, some other coaches that landed at other spots.
Yeah, I think when you make a move, and I think this does have a connection to Washington State, I think when you make a move like that to move on from James Franklin, you better have whoever you're going to hire ready to go before you make a move like that. What I would give Pollard credit for, and again, I'm in no spot as an alum to give credit to the guy that took our coach, but whatever. I mean, if he wants the Cyclone fans to think that really Iowa State is his dream job, then so be it. Good for you, Cyclone fans. There's just no way that's his dream job. But what I like about it, it's very Bill Moose to me. He didn't use a search firm. Now maybe he did, but he had his guy in mind. And that's what I do respect about Pollard. I don't understand these ADs. Your job is to hire the coach. That's why you're an athletic director. So why are you now pivoting and leaning on some search firm to do the job for you? And this is where Washington State is in a real pickle. And I thought Cantwell, and I like President Cantwell. I think so far what I've heard from her, again, has been very positive, and I like her personality. I like how aggressive she is and all of that. But I do think she's made a big error here. If you're going to fire Ann McCoy, and that's fine. If you don't think Ann McCoy's the person, she's not the fundraiser that you need at the school, okay, fine. I get it. I totally understand. You better have the person ready to go, though. And the fact is that they have not hired an AD yet, and then they just set a timeline the other day of April. Now you're going to hire a head coach before you hire an AD? Doesn't the AD want to make that hire?
Yeah, and I think, too, the other thing is, CSA, the search firm that Washington State is using now for this search, was the same firm they used when they got Jimmy Rogers. And so what people don't know is most of those contracts between the search firms and the schools include a provision that says if the coach doesn't last 2 years, the next search is free. So what I think is happening here is CSA, which is Todd Turner's firm. I think his son is running it now. Turner's the former AD at Washington. Turner's firm is probably doing this search for free because the last one failed with Jimmy Rogers leaving after 11 months. Oregon State was in the same predicament with Trent Bray. DHS Search, which is Chicago-based firm, they had to do this search with Jamarcus Shepard getting hired for free. So it comes at a hey, you're getting this one as a freebie because we messed the last one up because the guy didn't stay. So I don't like committees. I don't like firms. I don't think you need them, especially at this hour if you're Washington State, because you need to move with alacrity here. You need to get cracking. You need to have had, hey, there are 3 candidates. Let's get this done this week. And I know everyone's talking about the portal window opening later. This is an advantageous position for Washington State to be in. Yeah, that's fine. But you need to be recruiting your own roster right now because there's going to be mass defections with players going, hey, I'm going to go with Jimmy, or, hey, we don't know who there's too much uncertainty. They're already, even though they're not supposed to be, they're already talking. I've had college players who have dropped into my DMs who are messaging me going, hey, do you think Oregon State's looking for this position or that position because they see, Jamarcus Shepard at Oregon State. If you're Washington State, you got to get cracking here. Like there's some urgency.
Of course there is. And meanwhile, they're preparing for a bowl game that they play in, I don't know, what is it? I'm bad about 12 days, 13 days from now. And they've got an entire staff that the majority of them are going to Iowa State coaching them right now.
Yeah.
Now, I know they can contact them no matter what. Even if they all left and went to Iowa State and joined Jimmy, they obviously have their numbers and they could still contact them every day. But they are right now, every single waking moment, John, they're with them. just re-recruiting these kids to all go to Iowa State. That's, the other part of it. I mean, Jesse Bobbitt's already been hired as the co-defensive coordinator there, but he's the interim head coach there. It's just none of it's not a good situation. And they will lose a ton of kids. I mean, I expect the majority of the kids that came from South Dakota State, the ones they recruited, and the ones that were early, freshmen, they're going to probably depart to Iowa State. Would be my guess. If they lose a bunch of Iowa State guys going to Penn State, which what Matt Campbell's going to do. So I agree with you. They've got to move quickly on this. All right, so now let's move on from Rodgers. He's now at Iowa State. You wrote over the weekend about the possibility of Rick Neuheisel and Chip Kelly. I want to know how interested are these two guys really in this job, and what have they done? They've contacted them? They've reached out. Has the interest back from Washington State been good? Are they interested in Rick Neuheisel and Chip Kelly?
Well, here's what I can tell you. Let's start with Chip Kelly. I think he's a bit of a long shot because, first of all, I mean, some of the shine has come off Chip Kelly, and he had great success at Oregon where he was 46-7, and he took him to the national championship game. But he did it at a time when Oregon had better players and lots of resources. His success in the NFL didn't happen. He did a great job at Ohio State last year calling plays. But the thing about Chip Kelly that's interesting to me is, one, when he was asked about the job, an intermediary who's working behind the scenes said that Chip was interested, and in part interested because he was very close to Mike Leach and thought there would be a little bit of poetry and going where Leach went, doing what Leach did, and, almost like a pro bono thing for Chip Kelly, who, by the way, is going to make $6 million a year in the next 2 football seasons after this one from the Raiders. So the idea would be Chip could theoretically come in at a $1 salary because anything he's going to make at Washington State would be offset, really stick it to the Raiders, go to work at Washington State, use the leftover money that Washington State would have paid for a head coach to go hire a general manager, to build a roster, recruit, do all the things Chip Kelly doesn't want to do. But I think I give this like a 5% shot because, one, is it just an idea that gets thrown around and Chip's not closing the door on it? We'll see. The bigger one, and the one that is more interesting to me, is Rick Neuheisel. He is very interested in this job. I know that he has reached out, and there has been some contact between John Harlow, the AD at Washington State, and Rick Neuheisel. It's now, though, pivoted into the search firm. Everything's gone on pause. And so I think, Jerry Neuheisel's got to go think about the job he's going to have next season. He's being courted by some SEC schools that are asking him to come in and call plays. And could he be on a staff in the SEC, or does he become Rick Neuheisel's coordinator at Washington State? So I think there is some urgency there for Neuheisel to figure out, like, hey, are you really in this? Is Washington State going to be serious about you? I think it's an interesting angle. If for no other reason, it makes the job look more attractive to donors and other coaches who might be interested in it. Neuheisel's been out of the game a little bit, but he coached in the American, Alliance of American Football just a couple seasons ago. He had success there. He's more of a CEO type. He's a fundraiser. He has some interesting ideas about NIL. He's got a connection with Phil Knight that is unusual. He is back-channeled with Phil Knight. And, I saw Neuheisel at an Oregon game hanging out in Phil Knight's suite a few years ago. So I think Neuheisel presents just an interesting outside-the-box angle. I interview him if I'm Washington State. I want to hear his ideas. The other thing that he's receptive to, and I talked to Neuheisel yesterday, is he's receptive to the idea of a coach like Luke Falk coming in and joining his staff. So you could sort of merge together your ideas. You talked about, the staff members at Texas who potentially could come and join a Washington State staff. How about Luke Falk as your quarterback's coach? How about your defensive coordinator being a former Washington State standout? How about Neuheisel just as the figurehead CEO, raising funds, talking to donors, getting into Seattle like he did when he was at the University of Washington, and really sucking some of the resources out of there? I think it's an interesting angle. I'd want to run that ground ball out if I was Washington State, because the timing here, it isn't great, right? And so what are you looking at? You're looking at some FCS coaches who could bring roster with you if you look at like Idaho State's coach, Chad Hawkins, Dan Hawkins' kid is an interesting option. Brent Vegan at Montana State is an interesting option. Those guys could bring roster. The other alternative is taking somebody like Neuheisel and saying, look, we're going to get in the portal and we're going to go buy players. Because when you look at the money that Washington State is sharing, the institutional money, the revenue sharing, it's low. It's low by New World Pac-12 standards. It's not on the same tier as Boise State. And that narrative has got to change. And I think Neuheisel's the kind of guy that could do that.
I want to backtrack. Is he the one that initiated the contact to Washington State, and Washington State has reached back out to talk to him?
Yes, Neuheisel's interested, and I think there's a little bit of when you're chasing these jobs, all these coaches want to be pursued. They don't want to be the pursuer. So from Neuheisel's standpoint, it's a very delicate dance. It's, hey, I'm interested in this job. If they're interested in talking to me, I've got a plan. And it's funny because Neuheisel talked to John Wilner and I 3 weeks ago, and I asked him in our sit down, I said, look, do you miss coaching? And I didn't even finish the sentence. And he's like, every day. He misses it. He misses being in it. And the benefit that he has in this era is it's not as much right now about, hey, you've been away from the game. You've lost touch with players. His son is at UCLA now. They've got the guys that they could put together a staff that could relate very well to younger players. The emphasis now is on external fundraising. It is a race for resources in the New World Pac-12. It's Boise State, San Diego State, Oregon State, Colorado State racing to the top of that conference. And if Washington State doesn't hire somebody that moves the needle with the donor base, you're going to get left behind in that race. But to answer your question, yes, Neuheisel's interested. He initiated some contact. He used an intermediary to get to John Harlow. Harlow was receptive to it. I even talked to Harlow briefly about it. He seemed very open to talking to Rick Neuheisel. But now the process has moved to the point where a search firm is involved. I believe the search firm will do all that vetting. So that it's just they're in this little lull right now as they sort of assemble like who are going to be the real candidates here. And is Neuheisel an actual candidate, or is he just somebody that's fun to talk about?
You gave Kelly a 5% chance. What would you give the Neuheisel hire? What percentage?
I'll put it at like 25%. I think if we're at a cocktail party and we're talking about who might be the next coach at Washington State, I'm going to put Neuheisel on the board. I think he's up there. I think Brett Vegan at Montana State is on the board. I think, some of the options that I've heard for former Washington State players are interesting, but there's no proof of performance as a head coach with these candidates. And I worry about that at a time where I just watched it with Trent Bray at Oregon State. You don't want to have to hire a coach here 18 months from now again. So You've just been through it with Jake Dickert. You've just been through it with Jimmy Rogers. I'm looking for something with a little more stability. And, look, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I need somebody who's been a coach. I'm also looking at Elizabeth Cantwell, the president at Washington State. What did she do the last time she needed a coach? She was just at Utah State. She poached Bronco Mendenhall from New Mexico. Keep an eye on other schools within the New World Pac-12 and Mountain West. Is there somebody that Cantwell really wants that she's willing to go out and get? Because I think, she went with a proven commodity when she needed that at Utah State. I kind of expect her to do that again, which leads me to believe that, sitting head coaches probably have an advantage. But if you're Washington State, you go to Luke Falk and you say, hey, we want you on a staff, because that note that he sent out got everybody excited about having a former Coug involved. You want that, somebody who knows what it is and knows what it takes to win. It also creates a succession plan for you when the next coach leaves. Bring in Falk as a coordinator or a quarterback's coach.
Hey, don't have a heater before we do the show,
I know,
right?
I know.
Stop doing it. Here's what I could get on board with, all right? So you've got the go-to guy, Jim Moore, all stirred up.
Yeah.
He hasn't, since he read your article this weekend, Canzano, he hasn't had his pants on. Because he loves.
I don't want that image in my head.
Well, you
don't
got
need that image in my mind.
He hasn't had his pants on since he's read it. No one loves that guy more, Neuheisel, than Jim Moore. And he wants him hired so bad. He doesn't even care if he wins a game. He just wants him because of the, everything, where the press conference is the way he talks, all of it. I'm not on board with it. I've got my reasons. I frankly don't think he's a good coach. I just don't. I think he's won 3 times in his entire career, 3 seasons. And those reasons he won, well, he took Bill McCartney's staff at CU. He won with Jim Lambright's, players at Washington. He's never built a program. He was terrible at UCLA. And I know UCLA's got its own problems, but it's not like this place doesn't have problems. I don't think he's built to actually build a winner, and I'm not sold on his kid. His kid is fun, and he's got great hair, and he's young, and he's exciting, and he's leading the fight song, and they're throwing him up in the air. He's an interim offensive coordinator. If we want to talk about people with experience, all he has is being an interim offensive coordinator from the Penn State game on. His last 5 games as that offensive coordinator, by the way. Last 5 games, all losses, all blowouts. His offense scored 61 points.
Yeah.
So I don't even frankly know how good of a coach he really is. And he would need a lot more seasoning to be a coach someplace else. Here's where I'm going to buy Neuheisel, though, because everything you just said, everything, how you described him, talking to donors, getting the word out on the program, that screams athletic director to me.
Ooh.
Why doesn't he just become the CEO, make him a new title? He's the CEO of the football program. And he is the general manager of the team. It's going professional anyways. Now, he would have other responsibilities because the athletic director is just not the football guy. He's for everyone. But his main goal would be the fundraising, leading the Washington State football program as he oversees it as a general manager / CEO. Now, that I could be on board with.
I actually think that's what he wants to do. I think the title of head coach, forget the AD part. He doesn't want to be scheduling volleyball, travel and all that.
Has he been to Bowler Gym? He might change his mind.
Yeah, it's just nothing against volleyball. I love volleyball, but don't at me. But here's the thing. I think he wants to be the figurehead. I think he wants to be the CEO. I think he wants to be the head coach, but he wants to be more of the GM, CEO of the football program. I don't think he really wants to roll his sleeves up and be sort of the coach in the mold of Jimmy Rogers out there, jumping in drills, or Mario Cristobal. I think they want a succession plan. That's what they're interested in, like Dick Bennett and Tony Bennett when they came in basketball at Washington State. And I think what Neuheisel's doing is she's trying to position, this in much the same way that Bill Belichick trying to take care of Steve at North Carolina. Like, he wants to do something for his kid. And in the name of it, is looking over at the conference. And here's the other thing that I find interesting about the Pac-12. There's a lot of guys running for the hills. Jonathan Smith ran for the hills. Jake Dickert ran for the hills. Jimmy Rogers ran for the hills. But it's interesting to me that the older coaches, Jim Mora, Bronco Mendenhall, Rick Neuheisel, Chip Kelly, are all saying, wait a minute, there's something here that I can't get in the SEC or the Big Ten or the NFL or anywhere else. And I drilled down on that with Neuheisel in my conversation with him. And he said that you have to be at peace with players using it as a stepping stone, but there is very much the perception that you can coach guys in this conference and that you can develop players in maybe the way you can't in some other places. The guys are just one and done, headed off the NFL, doing what's best for themselves. But there's still the idea that you can go out and you can coach in this conference. And Jim Mora said it at his introductory news conference at Colorado State. He said, this is my last stop. And I found it interesting. I found out Mora tried to get in on the job at Washington State when Jimmy Rogers got it. And he couldn't get the search firm to call him back. He couldn't get the athletic director to interview him. Jim Mora wanted to leave UConn and come to Washington State, and nobody returned his call. And so he ends up in the conference at Colorado State. But when you look around this conference, you've got Sean Lewis at San Diego State and Bronco Mendenhall at Utah State and Matt Entz at Fresno State. And now Mora's coming in and Jamarcus Shepard. There are some good coaches in this conference. I think it's going to be really competitive and fun.
Yeah. And the thing with him being the CEO, though, if he becomes the guy for the program. I mean, he wants to do this in large part to get his son a job.
Yes.
I mean, that's what that's what I'm not convinced of. And where I'm it's more nepotism than doing what's right for Washington State, in my opinion.
I don't know though, because the biggest problem at Washington State, is the hole in the budget. All right.
Right.
And you're not going to get the institution. You're not going to get the state legislature to come in and help like Oregon State did. You're going to have to do that with external fundraising. So I would ask you this, and I would ask Washington State fans this, as you look at the candidates come together, does Brent Vigen make people want to open their wallet and give to Washington State football? Does that get people excited? I don't know that it does. And I think that's where you kind of have to look at a guy like Neuheisel or Chip Kelly and go, if we bring them in, does that make people go, I'm buying season tickets. I won't want to blink. I need to see how this ends, even if it comes with risk, right? Is the ceiling high enough to get people excited? Answer me that, and I'll tell you, who should be a finalist here, because whoever moves that needle the most, who has the ability to raise money. Jim Mora is going to raise money at Colorado State. He is an outstanding fundraiser. He raised all the money at UConn. He'll do it at Colorado State. Whoever can do that at Washington State is the hire.
Are we convinced that he could do it there? I don't know if he can. I think that
you tell me. Take the temperature.
I think I don't know. I think we in the media get fascinated by Neuheisel just because he's a great interview. He's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rick Neuheisel, for me, now I go to the games. Whatever, but it doesn't move the needle for me to want to go to more games.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Now, again, I speak for just myself. Maybe there are alums out there who are like, if Rick Neuheisel is hired, I'm all in. I've never donated before, and now I'm going to donate now. And that would be, I don't know how we'd answer that. That would be, it seems that it would excite people. I think the name of it, does excite people. But I just come back down to, for me, it's never been important about the personality. Maybe I'm wrong, stuck in the mud, old school days. I just want someone who can win and just win. And I think if you win, that brings people more.
Okay.
Maybe I'm incorrect on that. Because listen, Jimmy Rogers was not outgoing. He was terrible in front of the media. I'm not sure how he was with the donors behind the scenes. Zero clue. But he was a good coach. He was a real good coach. But I think you're right. You do need all of it.
But here's what I would do. If I'm John Harlow, the AD at Washington State, first of all, I need to know, is this Harlow's hire? He's the interim, or is the president going to make this hire and Harlow's just going to be the one selling it publicly? That's an important question. But if I'm him and I'm looking at candidates, I'm looking at Brent Vigen at Montana State, because the timing of this does work out with the FCS playoffs. Okay. Right. That it's now different. So there's a substance hire who could bring players with him. I'm going to look at Chad Hawkins at Idaho State as well, who's had some success. And his dad, Dan, has done some things at Colorado and Boise State that are interesting. I'm looking around going, is there a Brian Harsin out there? Is there somebody else out there currently in the game I need to talk with? But I'm bringing Neuheisel in for an interview because I want to hear his ideas. I want to hear his concept. He's got a different way of thinking about things. And I actually think this era plays to his strengths in a way that maybe it didn't at UCLA, that this is going to be about external fundraising. And can Rick Neuheisel get into Seattle in a way no one else can and suck resources out of Seattle and bring them to Pullman? If he can do that, that's a guy I would look hard at hiring.
Sure. Well, I think there's no doubt that they probably will bring him in, for a look. Do you know anything about Johnny Nansen at Texas? Have you heard anything of along those lines?
Just what is out there on social media, and again, I'm going to go back to this. Like, I just can't see Elizabeth Cantwell hiring somebody who's never been a head coach before.
Right.
I think her track record suggests there was a mess at Utah State. Remember, they had to dismiss the football coach. Mm-hmm. They were in a real pickle. There are some parallels here, right? Like it was like a sudden change moment for the administration at Utah State. And what did she do? She went with Bronco Mendenhall, known quantity, known entity, has been a coach, knows what he's doing. Let's bring that guy in. They stole him from New Mexico. Now, so the natural thought is, would she call Jason Eck? Of course you're going to call Jason Eck. Is he going to take your call? Yes, he is. He's a polite guy. He's not dumb. But Jason Eck's not leaving New Mexico to come to Washington State. Get it out of your head. I talked to him about Colorado State and Oregon State when they opened. and it just wasn't a big enough step up for him. He can do what he needs to do at New Mexico. And I think the job that he ultimately leaves New Mexico for is a Power 4 job, likely Wisconsin. If that opens up, if Wisconsin job opens up next year, it's going to be Jake Dickert. It's going to be Jason Eck. It's going to be Sean Lewis, all kind of vying for that Wisconsin job at the same time.
All right, the college football playoff rankings, it came out on your latest Canzano Wilner podcast, available now. You guys talked at great length about this. What did they get right? What did they get wrong?
Well, first, let's just start with the regional thing. I mean, University of Oregon got done dirty last year in the playoff, right? They got that 1 seed, and they got to play Ohio State because they were the 1 seed, and after 24 days off. Oregon got the most beautiful draw. Oregon should have the least to complain about. Like, one team from the western part of the country, I don't like that, but that one team got a clear path to maybe the semifinals or the championship game if they can get by Indiana. They're going to have to beat Texas Tech. That's a really good team. That's a top 4 team, might be the best defense in the bracket. They're going to have to beat an Indiana team that beat them at home already. But you don't have to play Georgia or Ohio State to get to the championship game. Oregon is beautifully positioned, and James Madison, their opening round opponent, not only is Oregon better, but Bob Chesney, the coach at James Madison, he's dealing with UCLA stuff right now. I asked, the SID at James Madison, can I get Chesney on my show? They said he's down in LA dealing with UCLA stuff Monday, Tuesday. He's not back till later in the week. He's distracted. I mean, James Madison, happy to be in the bracket, and that's all. So Oregon has a beautiful draw, and it's going to work out very nicely for the Ducks. I think they'll get to that game with Texas Tech, and let's see what happens. Beyond that, Georgia and Ohio State ending up on that same side of the bracket. That is the bracket of death down there on the lower end of your screen there. And I just think, it's interesting to see that. I only think there are maybe 4 teams that could win this thing. And it's interesting to me because I was paying attention to the Las Vegas sports books on like Saturday and Sunday morning.
Well, everybody knows you're a degenerate gambler. So yes.
I was trying to figure out, like, the sports books don't mess around. They're not here to Jimmy Jack around, okay? They are going to give real odds on who they think can win the damn thing, right? Because they're not here to do anything but make money. They don't have a dog in the fight. They don't have Kirk Herbstreit and Pat McAfee, carrying their water. They don't have an affiliation with ESPN or any of these conferences. All the sportsbook is looking to do is make money. What did the sportsbook say on Sunday morning? Sportsbook told me that Notre Dame was a 9-1 shot to win it all. 9-1. The bracket came out. All of a sudden, Alabama and Miami are in. Alabama's 20-1 in the sportsbook to win it. Miami's 22-1. Sportsbook didn't like those teams better than it liked Notre Dame. So the sportsbook is telling us what should happen here. But I look at this thing. I thought Notre Dame was a team that could win it. They're out of the bracket. No way can Alabama win it. No way can Miami win it. I'll tell you who will win it. It's either Ohio State, it's Georgia, it's Indiana, and maybe it's the winner of Texas Tech, Oregon, if they can find a clear path and the right things happen. There's no one else in this bracket that can win it. And so for the SEC, it is Georgia or bust. For the Big Ten, you got 3 shots, and then it's Texas Tech out of the Big 12.
Why do you like the idea? Now, I know why they have to do it, right? Because if they were to exclude these group of 5, there's a whole antitrust thing, and it would be a mess.
Yeah, they'll get sued.
It would be mess. But they're not the 12 best teams. I mean, James Madison is not one of them.
No.
And neither is 2. I mean, I watched James Madison play Washington State. Washington State was a better football team than them. They just lost. I mean, James Madison's going to get destroyed. And, if we're trying to pick the 12 best teams, and again, this goes back to the antitrust thing, so we got to acknowledge that. But we're not getting the 12 best in this current, structure of the college football playoff, picture in the rankings.
No,
so I don't know how we solve it. I don't know how
in the NCAA tournament, I would argue that the 15 and the 16 seed are not among the best 68 usually in the country. There's a reason why it's a tournament. You're playing for something. You win your division. Here's your path to the playoff. Here's your reward for the end of the season. And these teams, these group of 5 teams that got in, they played the game right. And they did what they needed to do to qualify. But for everybody who's belly aching about 2 G5 teams being in, it's not James Madison's fault that they're in this bracket. It's the ACC's fault. The ACC was so bad and had gamed the system so poorly that their conference champion had 5 losses. Duke had 5 losses. How in the world do you end up with a 5-loss conference champion? I'll tell you how. You have 5 teams tied, at 6-2 at the end of the year, and your tie-breaking procedures, for some inexplicable reason, don't take into account the idea that, hey, where you're ranked in the CFP rankings matters, and there's a potential here you could get left out. The first tiebreaker in the ACC should have been CFP ranking. Where are the 2 highest ranked teams play? It should have been Virginia, Miami playing, and Miami plays its way in as a conference champion. That would take care of Notre Dame would be in the bracket. James Madison would be out. You'd have 1 G5. The talking heads on ESPN that are carrying water for the SEC, they'd all settle down. This would be fine. But yes, if you try to exclude the group of 5 schools, you have an antitrust problem. You're not only going to get sued by the G5, which, by the way, is almost as big as the Power 4, almost as many members. You're going to have congressmen in states that do not include Power 4 schools all saying this is illegal. We need laws. You don't want that. The CFP doesn't want that. They have to include a path for these group of 5 schools. I would even argue last year in the first round, we saw Tennessee get boat raced. They didn't belong in the bracket either. But you have to play these games. And, I think, too, we saw tweaks from year 1 to year 2 in the bracket. We're going to see tweaks again. They're going to go to 16. They'll expand to 16. Maybe someday they'll go bigger. Where there's more money, there's more opportunity. They'll do it. But let's not begrudge the group of 5. Let's not look at James Madison and Tulane and go, oh, you don't belong. They absolutely belong in the same way that a 16 or 15 seed belongs in the NCAA tournament.
That's where I would differ with you, because the equivalent of a 15 or 16 would be the 40th team in college football, the 50th team. Whereas this, you know what I mean? Like Tulane, they're being regarded as the 12th, the 11th and 12th best teams in America. And they just are not. And this is going to be a bloodbath for JMU. And again, I think it's great to see these teams come in, but it's just not. And you're right. Tennessee last year didn't belong, but it's just not for me. Maybe I will be surprised.
The Big Sky champions going to the NCAA tournament, right?
Yeah.
The Big Sky champion might not be in the top 40 in basketball. You have to account for this is supposed to be sport. Okay. This is supposed to be a diversion from all the nonsense, from your bad boss, from your taxes, from all the
I'm my own boss.
Who cut you off in traffic today? It shouldn't be like that. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a wide open, we're holding a tournament. This is not an invitational event. It is a tournament, and tournaments require qualification. And it's the same methodology in the NFL. We look at some of these divisions year in and year out in the NFL. They're not very good. We know that the winner of, the AFC South or whatever, they're not going to the Super Bowl, but we put them in the bracket because they earned their way there. Same for the G5 schools. Someday, one of these G5 schools is going to beat somebody or play them close, and we're all going to go, hey, yeah, okay, this was not so bad. But if you remove that access, Puck, you are creating an even bigger chasm between the Power 4 and everybody else, and that is not good for the sport.
And I'm going to apologize to the University of Oregon now, because what I've done is the kiss of death. Is now JMU pulls off the upset against Oregon. One thing that they need to do away with, the conference championships, see to me, are just a joke, because you penalize, and I agree with you guys, and I think Wilner brought it up on the podcast, and I agree with them. Listen, BYU doesn't have a lot to stand on right now because their 2 losses were to Texas Tech, and they were blown out in both games. But they in theory, they did get penalized for playing in that championship game. Alabama, which again, before they played in the championship game, they had beaten Georgia. It was on the road. Yes, they lost in the championship game, but they were deemed as the number 1 team in the SEC. If you're the number 1 team in the SEC at the end of the regular season, you're going to get in. But there doesn't seem to be any punishment at all for these championship games, which then begs the question, do we really need the championship games anymore? I would say we don't. what I don't understand and will never understand, you mentioned, hey, maybe eventually they'll go to 16. We went from 2 to 4 to now 12, maybe to 16. There's this little league that's been doing this for a fucking long time. Okay.
Yeah.
And they've had 24 teams and they're really good at it. And I just don't know why. It's like when I look at the NFL and their overtime rule, you've got this other league, this college league has this great overtime rule. Why don't you just adopt that? And it's fun, it's exciting, and it's great. When I look at the NCAA and I look at college football, just adopt what the FCS has done. It's 24 teams, the top 8 get buys, and it runs smoothly. Starts at the end of November. It's wrapped up by January 5th. The fact we got to wait another, 2 weeks for the start of this thing, and then 3 weeks for the teams that have a bye, it's just, I don't know. I think it's silly.
Yeah.
Let's get going.
Here's another thing. Like, you look at the James Madison Oregon game and the Ole Miss Tulane game, and everybody's going, well, why did ESPN take the Friday night game and the early Saturday game? And, and they put the G5 teams on in prime time or in better windows. They put them on in better windows because the NFL's playing games in those windows, and they ESPN didn't want to go head to head with the NFL games. It's TV is the answer. What was the question? Like that, that's what's driving all of this. They are going to go to 16, though. I mean, I've talked to a number of conference commissioners they are certain they're going to 16 because there's more money in it, and there's more money for everyone. The Pac-12 sitting there going, hey, we need bigger distribution. Yeah. We're going to participate in this tournament. So for people who are going, oh, the G5s don't belong, the American, the Sun Belt, the Pac-12 are sitting back going, yeah, expand to 16. Give us, 2 spots in this field of 16. And let us make some money that you guys are making. But the fact that the SEC is walking away with $20 million in first round money, and everybody's looking like, why did it matter that Alabama got in and Notre Dame didn't? Like, the Notre Dame didn't have the cover of a conference. It didn't have the ACC or anybody advocating on its behalf. And the committee, the figure skating committee that came up with this field, definitely was paying attention to the SEC and these conferences, and it was afraid. It acted out of fear.
All right, let's table the private equity Utah conversation for next week. All right.
Okay.
Let's do that, and we'll get to that story. JohnCanzano.com. You can read all of his work there. It's fabulous. He's covering it all. Got stories up there, profiles. Rick Neuheisel, Chip Kelly, Wazoo Search. He'll be all over it. Plus all the other storylines in college football. You can listen to his radio show, The Bald-Faced Truth, down there in Portland, Oregon. And again, follow him on social media, John Canzano, BFT. You are truly an icon and a Renaissance man. Thank you.
Thanks.
There he is, John Canzano, with us every single Tuesday, talking college football, and get brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Let's get to the NFL waiting by. And we talk NFL every single week. With the one and only Danny Kelly. Our NFL conversation always brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Danny Kelly's been waiting by, and he wants to weigh in on who he thinks the Cougars should hire as their next head coach. We're going to make him wait even longer because we're going to talk Pete Carroll. Apparently is now working for a crime family in Las Vegas. We'll get to that. We'll get to Sam Darnold. We're going to get to Daniel Jones. We're going to get to there's a grandfather who may start this weekend in the NFL.
A
grandfather. Justin Herbert hates ESPN. And we're going to get to all of it with Danny Kelly from The Ringer today, senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show. Again, we talk all things NFL, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Alpha, Rogers Pilsner, and their new Tavern Beer Tasting Room and Beer Garden, open daily 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. We'll also get to Danny's Dimes, and maybe this first topic was going to be part of your Danny's Dimes. But Pete Carroll, unbelievable. And I'm going to credit, and 100% credit goes to the go-to guy, Jim Moore, who believes that he will write his next book titled cover forever.
I mean, if you can't win the actual game, covering is a nice consolation prize.
And then I did not. So let's fill everybody in.
Sure.
What happened? Because someone's going, I don't know what happened. A lot happened over the weekend. Somebody doesn't know.
The line, I think, was 7.
Line was 8.5.
8.5.
They are trailing by 10. They're
trailing
driving
by 10 with like no time left.
Under like 6 seconds left. They complete a pass to Tyler Lockett over the middle with 4 seconds left. Now the clock should have run out there, but because a defender for the Broncos hit the ball out of Lockett's hands, there was a flag thrown for delay of game, which other people have said was the official also in on it with cover forever, Pete Carroll. Because why would you do that? The game's over. There's no reason.
Love a good conspiracy.
So they, again, can't end on a penalty. 4 seconds left. People are like, all right, he's going to throw it to the end zone. He does not. Cover forever, Pete Carroll sends out the field goal unit. In a game in which they've got no chance to win, there's 4 seconds left. So he's going to kick the field goal.
It's not over till it's over, baby.
That's right. You always compete. And again, the
always
line is
compete, superseded, win forever.
Again, the line's 8.5. Field goal makes it 7. Cover, win big. Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I did not hear him after the game.
I can tell you what he said.
Okay, but I read his comments yesterday, what he said, and it's all bullshit. 100% bullshit.
Wait, do you actually think he's like in on the take?
I don't know if he's in on the take, but what he said yesterday was not true.
Well, he said that he wanted to kick the field goal and hopefully do it within 3 seconds so you can do the onside kick and get another chance to.
But there was okay, but there's no way. There's 4 seconds. The clock's going to run out. He's not going to kick.
Just kick a howitzer kick. I don't know.
You can't kick the field goal. And only 3 seconds is going to go by. And then if he kicks the onside, the clock runs out there.
Yeah, but don't you get one extra play? I don't really know how it works, to be honest.
Doesn't the clock run? Okay, so he gets the onside. The clock doesn't run? Doesn't it run?
I don't know. I think it probably does. There's no way this would work, but also what do you want him to just give up? I don't know. I kind of am on Pete's side on this. I'm just like, well, what do you want us to do? Just like take a knee? Just
throw it to the end zone. Just throw it.
Yeah, but that's like the same deal.
Mary.
They're trying to cover. They're getting into the end zone.
Yeah, but okay. But when you throw the Hail Mary, people understand that. It looks better.
I love that.
By
did you see the kickers?
The field goal? The kickers did the fake the God thing. I guess they have to do that.
The kicker was like, okay, I don't know why I'm out here, but
he is so full of it. I don't know what he's in on, man. I don't know. Do I think he had money on the game? No.
Pete doesn't even know. Pete can't. He wouldn't know how to make a bet. I don't think.
I think his weird looking son did, though. I'll tell you that with that stupid ass beard he's got. I just think that I think they're always aware of the line. Number one, I don't believe any of these coaches who tell you that they don't know what the line is. I think they look at it.
Maybe it feels better to cover.
Well, I think he's like, hey, you know what? I bet you some of our fans had us at 8.5. So why don't we send them home with a little prize?
Right. Help pay for the price of admission.
Yeah. But when he's like,
a hero.
But his is like, I really don't know what's going on. We're just trying to compete. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, that's not. He said yesterday, he goes, I knew it was going to look stupid. Like you couldn't figure out why we were doing it, said Monday via Ryan McFadden of ESPN. But there was a clear thought of what we were trying to get down there. Just take it down to the very last click. That might not be good enough for you. I understand that, but I think you can see what we were trying to do, but it just didn't work out.
Wow. Just ran out of time.
He says, I can't bend and twist and go with whatever the public sentiment is, or one person's sentiment for that matter, regardless of who it is. I just can't do that and do my job the right way to the best of my ability. I don't know kind of what that quote is in reference to, but I don't know. I mean, it does. First of all, there's been a lot of stories, right, with gambling and sports lately.
Right.
This doesn't look good for him.
It's not a good look. I also just don't believe that Pete Carroll would be betting on the Raiders. Like, I just don't see that happening. But
What if he was? What if it
optics
comes
are
out?
not good?
What if it comes out later?
Oh my God, that would be incredible.
That he has been betting under some pseudo name like John Schneider.
Johnny Schneider.
Jody, but with an IE instead of a Y. Jody Allen. And just been making all this money. Or when he gets fired this year, which likely it kind of seems like it's going to happen, he starts working with Brett Musburger at that Vissen spot. And he's like, all right, come on, let's go. Come on, Brett. I got a 3-team parlay this weekend. Woo.
Hell yeah. I mean, all those scenarios sound great. You know, there is something like, I don't know if the Raiders can afford to fire him. Maybe this was him helping out Mark Davis, who probably put money on.
Mark, put everything you got on us. I'll get it done.
I don't know.
Because I just thought of this. Did we check? Can someone get video of him on the sideline? Did he ever check his phone while he was on the sideline?
Is he placing bets?
Because you can do in-game betting there because of the laws in Vegas and the mobile app. So everybody in that stadium, I actually want to see the reaction from the crowd inside that stadium when it goes through and people are on their phone, because you can do in-game betting there inside that stadium. So maybe he was over there and put Brandon with the weird beard and said, "Hey, Brandon, let's put 6 figures on us right here. We'll see if Carlson can kick it through."
It's not Brandon. What is it?
Isn't it Brandon Carroll?
Braden, or it's something like that. Brennan.
Oh, Brennan. Yeah, even better. Brennan.
Yeah.
Weird beard.
I like this conspiracy, but I also don't believe it.
I mean, on board.
Just Pete Carroll, his whole deal is like, we're just going to keep competing to the end and see what happens. Like, if there was 10 or 15, if there was 25 seconds left, they'd kick the field goal and then try and do the onside. So I think he just did what they would have done in any scenario. Like, we got to keep trying.
Okay. So
you need 2 scores.
So with 4 seconds left, he knows the clock is going to expire. You don't think
you never know. You never know what happens if he kicks it really fast.
So you giving 0% chance that he had some idea what the spread was. 0. Not that he bet on it.
Idea what the spread was, but I don't think he bet on this game.
Okay, I'm not saying he bet on it. I'm just saying, do you think he had any idea what the spread was? And was like, all right, let's screw around with these guys a little bit.
Pete spends 6 months in Vegas, and all of a sudden he's embroiled in some gambling thing.
We're gonna find out he's got he's got his hand put in some vice grip and getting smashed with a hammer.
Yeah,
for what he did. All right,
make a new Ocean's 11 movie about this.
Could be. I might have jumped on your Danny's dimes. I'm sure that was right up there. Maybe
not.
Yeah,
that was top of my list.
I'm sorry, Danny. You know what? I'll just start with it and then I'll shut up.
What does PS stand for, by the way, on your hat?
Oh, I'm going to send you that. That's Puck Sports.
Oh, sick.
You want a hat? I'll give you a hat.
I'll
give you a sweatshirt too. You want a sweatshirt? Look at that.
Of course I do.
Yeah, I'll give you a sweatshirt.
Of course I do. I love that.
Text me your stuff and I'll send it up to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I obviously should have known what it stood.
No, you shouldn't have known. I didn't say anything. It sounded
I'm on your show.
It says PS. It could mean anything. I don't know.
What does the Ringer stand for? What is that all about? Is that movie with Johnny Knoxville?
That. All right. What else has stood out to you here from this past weekend of the National Football?
Well, we got to talk about Sam Darnold. Didn't play a clean game. However, I came away being pretty happy with how he played in that game. I was a little bit upset at that pick that he threw, especially because it felt like I think he had Kenneth Walker wide open for what would be a first down in the flats, and he decided to chuck it into coverage, which is just kind of what he does. But I will say a couple big positives coming from that game. Seahawks beat Atlanta, obviously. Number one, I thought he bounced back well. That throw that I believe it was to Cooper Kupp. No, maybe it was JSN, sorry, where he stepped up in the pocket and made a really nice play under pressure, scored a touchdown. I thought that was really encouraging. And I also thought, and this is something that we've been talking about, we talked about this a lot last week, We got other guys in the offense. There's other players in this offense that stepped up. Rashid Shaheed, I think, had his kind of welcome to Seattle moment.
He had the same amount of catches that he'd had in the previous 4 games.
Right. Yeah.
And he had more yards. So it was great. It was finally great to see him break out.
And he had a 100-yard touchdown return. And then Cooper Kupp had a touchdown. I just thought like it was really cool to see the Seahawks finally get some more balance, I guess. Obviously JSN did his thing. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a great game, but it was really cool to see Rashid Shaheed step up, Cooper Kupp. I still think AJ Barner is a really important player for them. You know, again, the run game didn't really do a whole lot, but I came away being pretty encouraged with that game, especially considering I was like a little apoplectic early on when Sam Darnold threw that interception. I was just like, God, again, please stop with the interceptions. But overall, I felt great about that. I thought the other thing I wanted to mention here as one of the dimes is Nick Emanwari. Man, he is so fun to watch.
Unreal.
I liked him coming into the draft. I thought it was exciting that the Seahawks picked him. There was all these rumors that they would have picked him in the first round. And that's how much they liked him. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if he was a first round player, but he clearly looks to me like a first round caliber player. There was some questions about his instincts and coverage and some of the things that like when he's going backwards, I thought like that was like a little bit worrisome in his college tape, but man, the way that they deployed him, the way they use him in their defense, I mean, it just fits his skill set so perfectly. He's so explosive, the way he closes on the football, the way he blitzes. I don't know. It's just really fun to watch him play. So it's cool to see him kind of burgeoning star on the defensive side. And
just all the different ways that they use him, right? I mean, they move him all around. I mean, he really is just a linebacker.
Right.
But they have him in coverage. He's matching up with Justin Jefferson. And I mean, he's doing all these crazy things. And he's just a fun player. I mean, to have a game in which you have a sack, an interception, a blocked field goal. He is. There's just so many great young players on this defense, Danny. You get vibes of what they used to be. And I was talking to me, Michael Sean Dugar and I were talking about this. And I even took it a step further that this organization's getting this reputation of being an organization. You go there, it's a defensive minded football organization. And he went back to, the Pete's days. But I'm like, you got to even take it back further than that. I mean, this is early 90s. The hallmark of this football team was defense. They won 2 games.
Kennedy.
And they had Cortez Kennedy was the defensive player of the year. You go back even further, you're an old fart like me at 50. Like, I remember those teams in the 80s, and they were defensive-minded football squads with Jeff Bryant and Joe Nash and Jacob Green and Kenny Easley and those guys. I mean, they were great. And so it's always kind of had that. You're seeing this next wave of young talent come in. With a very good football coach in Mike Macdonald. You're right. There's so many favorite football players right now running around. Ernest Jones and Leonard Williams, and even though Leonard's not young, but Witherspoon had a great game.
Yeah, Witherspoon's all over the place. I mean, and I know like there's moments in this game where I'm like, man, these guys are just. And I think Woolen actually got one. But every time they make a play, they're just begging the refs to throw a flag because they're going up in the opponent's face and like taunting them and stuff like that. But I think ultimately that's a good thing because these guys play with an edge. They play with an incredible amount of intensity. I think that's why you went out and got a guy like Witherspoon so high is because of the intensity which he plays. And it's like, it's contagious on what they do with what they do. There's stats flying around this year that I think are really, really telling about the defense, and it is basically right now the Seahawks are second. I'm looking at Pro Football Reference. Seahawks are second in pressure rate, almost 30%, and they are, let's see here, like 8th to last in blitz rate. So this is like the ideal what you're looking for on defense. They only blitz 19% of the time, and they have a 30% pressure rate. Getting pressure with 4 has always been the skeleton key for defense.
Let me ask you on that one. And I think I don't know the answer to this. So when because they will show different coverages in how they blitz or what they send as their 4.
Right.
It's just not the 4 guys that are on the D line that are going.
Right.
Sometimes it's only 2 of them but then it's a corner that's the third guy and maybe a linebacker, and then they're dropping the other twos. So when they look at that stat and they say their blitz rate, they're only just the 4 doesn't matter who the 4 are, right?
Right.
Okay,
yeah. So basically, a blitz is if you rush 5 or more.
Okay. I want to clear that up because they are doing it. Yes, they're sending 4, but it's not the same 4 every time. It's not like how Seattle used to do it under Pete Carroll, when it was just the defensive line was the only guys that went after the quarterback, because they never blitzed under Carroll ever. And
you see that. So, and what that does on a defense, and obviously this is like not a new idea. This blitzing with 4 guys and dropping guys into zones, like that's been around forever. But you do kind of have to have the right combination of players to do that. I think the Seahawks, they have like pass rushers that can also drop. They're athletic enough to drop into space. They're athletic enough and have the awareness to get to their spots, get to their marks, and kind of keep an eye on the routes and everything. So like it takes a little bit of, you have to have versatile players on the first 2 levels. And obviously having like a safety like Emin Wari, who plays like a linebacker, he can rush the passer. He's not necessarily a pass rusher, but he's explosive enough to close on the quarterback. And what it does is, obviously, it's confusing for a quarterback, but it's also very confusing for an offensive line who they have they have to kind of figure out who to block. That's like a huge part of it. And if you're bringing pressure from some different angle every time, it makes it very hard on the offensive line to basically get guys blocked. And so that's why when you see somebody jump into a passing lane and pick off a pass, like for the Seahawks, that's usually what's happening. Is like he's and you see before the snap happens, you have 5 or 6 guys, 7 guys sometimes on the line of scrimmage. They call it like sugaring the A gap. So you have like 2 linebackers come up and stand on each side of the defensive tackle. And then you have an offensive line who says, okay, well, we have to block 5 guys. We have to block 4 or 5 guys. And then you have the running back who's like responsible for somebody. And so like when you bring pressure from different angles and you drop guys out, it just, again, it's very confusing. And when you have an offense that's thinking rather than sort of just playing fast, that's what you're looking for. And so I think that's kind of like the key to it. I don't honestly like know what Macdonald does that's so much more difficult than every other coach that's tried this in the past. I think he's got some sort of secret sauce in terms of his play calling and how he does it. But I think it's obviously been really, really effective. Their defense is great, and obviously they can stop the run, which helps too. They just got a great defensive line and obviously some playmakers on the secondary. So it's just really fun to watch. I just think at the end of the day, right? I mean, football's been around for, I don't know, 100 years, whatever it is. Nothing new under the sun. It isn't. And it just comes down to, it always is the lines. Yep. And can your lines win? If your lines can win, then you're gonna win, and you're gonna win the majority of their games. And they've just have a defensive line that is so dominant that allows them to do all these different things. And that's where it starts. I think when you build a defense, that's where you start. You start up front and you work your way back, and you can find those guys up front, and then you can fit the pieces that there on the back end. It's always like, if you like the end of the day, end of the season, it's either you have a Hall of Fame quarterback or you've got really good trench play. Like those are the 2 ways to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly right. Like it's kind of comes down to that. We're gonna see. This has to be a first in the NFL, right? Has there ever been a grandfather in the NFL take a snap at quarterback? I doubt it. I honestly don't know if that's a stat that people keep. Does like Elias or NFL Research keep that stat? Well, someone's gonna have it. They're just sure. There has to be. So Phillip Rivers, for people who don't know, it's been reported he's going to unretire and he's going to sign, or he has joined the Colts practice squad, and likely, I'm going to assume, is going to be active on Sunday, depending what the status with Riley Leonard is, because Riley Leonard injured his knee in the last game. By now, Daniel Jones is done for the year, Achilles tear. Anthony Richardson still on the IR with an eye injury, so they need someone who knows this offense, and they've worked together, and Phillip Rivers knows this offense, and they can bring him in and hopefully get through it if Riley Leonard can't play. This is just a fascinating, awesome storyline. Like, man has 10 kids, and he's a grandfather, and he's like, F it.
I'll suit up and throw.
He looks like he's in good shape. I was looking up some pictures of him coaching because he's he's a coach now. I think he's a high school coach, right?
Yes, I believe so.
And I'm like, man, he looks like he's in pretty good shape. He has 10 kids.
10.
Sure they keep him on his feet.
He's a semifinalist. It just came out this week for the Hall of Fame.
They're gonna push it back 5 years now. If he goes to the active roster, you have to.
Oh,
wait
really?
5 years, yeah.
Oh,
so this
well,
is like
stinks.
I mean, he's probably not going to make it this year, right?
But he should see. Based on this, I know he's kind of on the fringe of a Hall of Famer. People don't think he is,
right?
And I get it, and I'm sure all those people can make a compelling argument that he shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, if he comes back and plays this week, first ballot, he's in. Just put him in.
Right, man, it's so funny. The last time he played was 2020.
Fucking awesome.
It's like insane to think about.
I love him so much because you being a fantasy football guy, I was in a franchise league for the same league I've been in since college, since we've been 18.
Yeah.
All right. We used to do keepers. We don't do them anymore, but we're probably going to bring them back. This guy was my quarterback for like 10 years.
I love it.
I think maybe
you have a
longer
relationship with these guys.
I have a personal relationship with Phillip Rivers,
100%.
and I want to see him succeed because this guy was leading the token Chiefs for a long time. It's great.
I've always loved Phil Rivers. I think he's funny.
Yes,
he's just like one of those guys that he's simultaneously like a huge jerk and also like a really good guy. You know what I mean? Like everything you hear about him, he's like a family man. Obviously, he has 10 kids. He's like deeply religious. He apparently does not swear. Like he doesn't swear, but he talks more shit than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah,
maybe he gets into it with guys. He's just kind of got that crazy look in his eye.
Yeah,
he has a really weird throwing motion.
Yes,
there's just a lot of things to like about him. Also, he's very good. He was very good, obviously, in his career. If he's up for the Hall of Fame, but yeah, I hope he plays. I don't think he's going to play this week. Do you think he'll play this week? I think it's going to be Brett Rippon.
I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of fighting for their lives, aren't they? I mean, you're kind of
for sure. Yeah.
I feel like if
bringing him in against the Seahawks defense.
Let me ask you, who do you trust? If you're Shane Steichen, who do you actually trust more?
Oh, it's definitely Rivers.
Yeah. Because Brett Rippon's the other guy. He's on the practice squad, who they probably will elevate as well.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
Boy, the Seahawks really have lucked out here the last few weeks, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
Think about the quarterbacks that they've had. Cam Ward, the Pucks from the Vikings, Cousins done, and now potentially it's either Phillip Rivers, grandfather, Brett Rippon, or Riley Leonard.
Yeah. Yeah, they got, especially with the Colts, man, they got really lucky because the Colts obviously were just a wagon to begin the year. Looked like that was going to be like a really critical game, and now obviously the Seahawks should be favored pretty dramatically.
And they're on the outside looking in right now. I mean, they're out of the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
So they got to win. Chiefs not going to make it. I know everyone's kind of celebrating the Chiefs likely not going to make it. I guess they obviously still have a chance to get in.
Yeah.
I want them in. They're fun. It's more fun
you want
when
Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's more fun.
I think here's the distinction I would say. I'm not celebrating they're out of the playoffs. I don't want them in the Super Bowl again. I'm just like sick of that.
Yeah, you've seen it. And,
so I'm like, can we get a different team in there? Like, this is boring to cover.
Yeah,
like another fucking Super Bowl week of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes,
Taylor Swift, his crazy wife.
That's my personal rooting interest as someone who doesn't care about the Chiefs from a personal point of view. I'm just like, it's not exciting to have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl every single year. Yeah. So also doesn't look like it looks like we won't be getting a rematch in the Super Bowl. The Eagles are falling apart.
Yeah, I hate the Eagles for some reason. I really just hate all of it. I hate the coach. And just Jalen Hurts. I just don't like him. I don't like any of them. So I'm glad they lost yesterday, and I'm glad Herbert with his one hand and his disdain for Laura Rutledge, not wanting to do an interview, all of that.
What is his deal? Why was he surprised that the starting quarterback of the winning team is going to get interviewed? What is wrong with you?
He's but that's deal, just man. Kind of his thing, right? He's not a very
what the hell?
He's not a very what's the affable, gregarious type
No,
of
definitely not.
personality.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely
he's just kind of football.
But I mean,
yeah,
like, come
he
on,
was a
have some
little annoyed.
awareness.
Hey, you're the quarterback and you got one hand and you just won the game.
Yeah, give me a break, man. Like that. This happens after every game. Why are you surprised she's trying to interview after a game? Like,
Good for her though.
do
She
the
stuck
thing.
with it. I
Yeah,
kind of like
she did a great
respect her.
job.
Yeah, she stuck with it.
I thought that was like super weird. I'm like, what do you expect, man? You just won the game on freaking Monday Night Football. You're the starting quarterback. You're playing with a broken hand. Like, just do an interview.
He's a warrior.
Deal.
The kid's a warrior. He's just a good quarterback, tough as hell, and he gets the crap beat out of him, plays with a broken hand, and still goes out there and performs. All right, what game are you looking forward to the most this week before we let you go? You got one circled?
Let's see. I haven't even really started looking at it. I mean, Lions Rams stands out. That game should be really good. Broncos Packers is also a very good one.
We need the Broncos and we need the Lions.
Yeah. And then Bills Patriots should be a fun one too.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if the Patriots are like actually real.
Like how good are they?
Right. Yeah.
Like how legit are they? Right.
Yeah.
Because they're dogs at home. Buffalo's favorite in that game. Yeah.
Interesting.
Cover Forever's taking the Patriots at home. Pete Carroll, I watched his press conference this morning. He already gave us his 3-team parlay at the end of it.
Yeah, who are you taking with the Raiders this week, man?
Yeah.
This is
who am I taking with the Raiders? I'm taking the Raiders plus the points. And I can't wait.
They're playing the Eagles. Oh,
Cover Forever has in store for this game. Totals 38.5. Start watching what he does at the end of that game if the total's in question. He's under a microscope now, Danny.
Yeah. Puckett, you're not gonna let him get away with this.
No. Well, no, I respect him. I mean, whatever. Gamble. Bet your life away. Keep you out of the Hall of Fame when they find out, Danny. All right. Tell everyone where they can watch and listen to you this week. You're everywhere there on the Ringer.
Everywhere. The Ringer Fantasy Football Show, which is 4 times a week, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. And soon you will be able to find us on Netflix.
That's right. Can't wait.
Very excited.
When are we, and that's coming
January,
around the corner.
Sometime. I'm not sure exact date yet, but
great. Can't wait. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it as always. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, there he is, Danny Kelly. Danny B. Kelly there on social media. Ringer, senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show, all up there on all Ringer platforms. Our NFL coverage brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Before we get to On This Day, let's give you some winter meetings buzz, some little buzz coming from the winter meetings there in Orlando. Boy, there's been a lot of activity today. Kyle Schwarber has signed a 5-year deal, $150 million to remain with the Phillies. Edwin Diaz is leaving the New York Mets. He's coming back to the West Coast. He has signed and agreed to a 3-year, $69 million deal with the LA Dodgers. Susan Slusser is reporting that the Mariners and Red Sox have shown great interest in Giants rookie prospect Bryce Eldridge. He's a 6'7", 240-pound lefty. He's a position player. He's a first baseman / DH. And he was the Giants' first-round pick back in 2023, the 16th overall pick. So, and this is despite them signing Josh Taylor, that they still seem to be very active in trying to land Bryce Eldridge. Also, the Mariners are being linked to Ketel Marte in a deal with Arizona. It's the Mariners and Pirates have also been mentioned. Of course, Marte was a one-time Mariner. Jerry traded him to Arizona. He is owed $91 million over the next 5 years. He's 32. Also, Jorge Polanco, ESPN reporting that Jorge Polanco and his agent will make a decision this week in Orlando at the winter meetings where he is going to play this year. According to reports, Polanco is looking anywhere from a 3 to 4 year deal worth $12 million annually. Ryan Divish and Adam Jude of the Seattle Times report that the Mariners want to be 2 years, perhaps with a mutual option there for a 3rd year. So we'll see what Polanco will do on that front. So speaking of the winter meetings and Ryan Divish, another episode of Inside Pitch will come out tomorrow with Ryan Divish. They're from the Seattle Times, available just for Puck's Posse members. So we will get the very latest with him on that one. Speaking of yesterday's show, check out our interview, our podcast with Michael Sean Dugar, the Dugar Report. We talk all things Seahawks. He has an incredible stat and number on Sam Darnold based on if you take his turnovers out, where does he rank among the best quarterbacks in the league? He was certainly excellent in that second half there against Atlanta this past weekend. So in other news and notes to report, Johnny Nansen, we'll talk more about this probably tomorrow with the go-to guy, but Johnny Nansen is heating up for perhaps to be a leading candidate for Washington State. He is the current linebackers coach at Texas, University of Texas, co-defensive coordinator there, bounced around a lot of different jobs. At Texas, he's been the defense coordinator at Arizona, USC, UCLA. He worked at UW. He was a 4-year letterman at Washington State. Played linebacker for the Cougs in the 90s, 92 to 96, was not on the Rose Bowl team captain, all that. So keep an eye out for Johnny Nansen. And in case you missed our show earlier, our segment earlier with John Canzano, he will be part of the whole Daily Puck Drop. The full video up on YouTube, also on the Daily Puck Drop on all the podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify. We also will separate just John's appearance on YouTube as well if you just want to watch John. He had a lot of great stuff there on Chip Kelly and Rick Neuheisel. Gave Chip Kelly about a 5% chance, and he gave Rick Neuheisel about a 25% chance for the job there at Washington State. Certainly made a compelling argument for Rick Neuheisel. I'm not on board for Rick Neuheisel being the coach. If Rick Neuheisel wants to come on and be some type of CEO running the football program, fine, but I'm not on board with him bringing his kid. And that's the thing. That's the reason he wants the job. He wants the job because he wants to give it to Jerry. And you can't convince me Jerry Neuheisel. I don't know anything about him. He's been an interim OC for 7 games, 5 in which they were terrible offensively. So there's hesitation from some about Johnny Nansen being the head coach, but this guy's got 30 years of coaching compared to a guy that's coached 7 games. And I don't know anything. And I am not convinced that Jerry Neuheisel is a good head coach. And I'm not convinced that someone that is doing this out of nepotism is the right move for Washington State. I get what he would do. Maybe it would make everybody support more. I don't know, but I would kind of steer clear of that, but we shall see. If he wanted to come and be the AD/NFL CEO, I kind of want to be on board on that one, as long as he doesn't bring his kid to be the head coach. All right, on this day, December 9th, as we get to that right before Hey, What the Puck, which we'll dip back into college football, Jerry Rice's streak of 274 games starts with a reception and a loss against the Rams. That happened on December 9th, 1985. Rice, of course, would go on to break almost every record in the NFL, the most decorated wide receiver in the history of the sport. Also on December 9th, 1987, Larry Bird's streak of 59 consecutive free throws ends. Unbelievable. Larry Bird, if you don't remember, if you're maybe not old like me, if you're a young buck and don't remember Larry Bird, go flip on YouTube and watch Larry Bird highlights all day long. This guy could play at any time. Fabulous. He was faster, quicker, smaller version of Jokic. December 9th, 2023, a couple years ago, Shohei Ohtani signs with the LA Dodgers. Record deal, 10 years, $700 million. Also on this day in 1965, December 9th, a Charlie Brown Christmas debuts on CBS. They play it every single year, and I've probably seen it every single year since 1980. The Charlie Brown Christmas debuting December 9th, 1965. A couple of birthdays. Happy birthday going to actor John Malkovich, turned 72 today. Check. All he does is check, check, check. Great character there in Rounders, John Malkovich. Also, Donny Osmond turned 68 today on this day, December 9th. Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Helps you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. For WSU, we'll get back to this. Please just get the hire right. We can debate back and forth who the best candidate is or is not, but I just wanted to get them right. They eventually say it's Rick Neuheisel, which I don't think is where I would want to go. Clearly, if it ends up being right, we'll all be happy with it. I just want them to get it right. They've got to get it right. There's just been too much upheaval. There's been too much turnover right now in that football office. They've got to nail this, and that's a lot of pressure on the new president, President Elizabeth Cantwell. I think if it comes close to another candidate who is a Coug like Johnny Nansen, I would be in favor of hiring the Coug Johnny Nansen just because of, and we've brought up Nansen's name before, but I never thought Nansen would ever be entertaining the offer because I think Nansen would look at WSU and understand how hard it is to win there and go, I'm making $1.2 million at Texas living in Austin, and we're always good, and there's not the pressure of moving back there and trying to build the program. He does check a lot of boxes, though, the only one not being someone who has led an actual program. But what type of staff does he build around him? How many Cougs come with him? A connection to the past. Is that something that would be good for Washington State to have that? That doesn't mean he's going to stay forever. He wouldn't. I mean, if he had success, he probably would bail as well. But maybe he wouldn't. And maybe that's what they need right now. The Rick Neuheisel thing doesn't appeal to me in the sense of him being the head coach, CEO, and then bringing his kid in. If he wants to run the football program and go in a different direction, I could certainly see that. He is no doubt a great speaker and fundraiser, and that's, I'm not trying to discount the importance of that, and it is important. They need some excitement in that program for people to donate and to give back. I don't know. You Coug fans would have to tell me. He doesn't move the needle for me to want to come back there and watch more games for me, but maybe he does it for you. We shall see. Just get it right, please. I think we all can agree on that one. Just get it right. Again, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks, everybody, watching and listening to today's show. Thank you to our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Flat Stick Pub, Georgetown Brewery, and Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop. Find it up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe to the channel. You may watch it, but you're not a subscriber. You got to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. Nothing weird's going to happen. It's a way to continue for the channel to grow, earn more revenue, get more support. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms. When you're there, Apple and Spotify, please rate the show. Leave a comment, especially a positive one. If it's negative, don't leave a comment. Okay. And if it's not 5 stars, don't rate it. You can also find everything that we do up at pucksports.com, including signing up there to become a member of the Pucks Posse. It's just $5 a month. You support all the free content we do. In addition, we give you bonus shows throughout the week. You've got Inside Pitch with Ryan Davis coming out tomorrow. KJ Arns with Mitch Levy on Thursdays. Last week, we interviewed Tim Brando, Fox Sports College Football. Check that out. How to solve college football, how to fix it. We also have the latest edition of the Sports Pit with myself, Sandy, and Stretch. That is out as well for Pucks Posse members. We appreciate all the support. Thank you. Tuesday's show is in the books. We'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday. Rob Staten stops on by to talk more Seahawks. Jim Moore is back, and Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!